The station hung in space like a massive wheel, spinning slowly against the backdrop of 1,000 stars. Nexus Prime, they called it. The heart of the Galactic Council. Inside its gleaming halls, representatives from 47 different species gathered in desperation. Hyun-woo stood at the entrance to the Grand Assembly Chamber. He was human, which made him unusual here. His species had joined the galactic community only 15 years ago. Most of the older races still saw humans as children playing at civilization. That was about to change. The doors opened with a soft hiss. The chamber beyond was enormous. Seats rose in curved tiers, each occupied by an alien diplomat. Some had scales, others had feathers. Some breathed oxygen, others required special atmospheric fields around their seats. All of them turned to look as Hyun-woo walked to the central platform. "Ambassador Hyun-woo of Earth," announced the council speaker, a tall being with 4 arms and silver skin. "You have been summoned to discuss a matter of galactic survival." Hyun-woo bowed slightly. "I am honored to serve the council." The speaker's face showed no emotion, but his voice carried weight. "The Void-born swarm has consumed 12 more systems this month. Our fleets cannot stop them. Our soldiers die by the millions. We are losing this war." A hologram appeared above the platform. It showed a map of the galaxy. Red marks indicated Void-born territory. The red had grown significantly, eating into council space like a disease. Hyun-woo had seen the reports. He knew how bad things were. 3 years ago, "The Void-born were a minor threat on the edge of known space," continued the speaker. "Today, they control 30% of what was once council territory. 400 billion lives have been lost. If we do not stop them soon, there will be nothing left to save." Another council member stood. She had blue skin and eyes like a cat. "We have exhausted our military reserves. Every species has sent their soldiers. We need more. We need fresh troops, trained warriors who can help us turn the tide." "You want human soldiers," Hyun-woo said. It was not a question. "Yes," said the blue-skinned diplomat. "Your species has a reputation. You are aggressive, tactical, and you adapt quickly. We need those qualities. We need 20,000 troops fully equipped, ready for deployment to the front lines." Hyun-woo listened as other council members spoke. They detailed their requirements: disciplined soldiers who could follow orders, tactical teams who understood conventional warfare, professional military personnel who could integrate with existing galactic forces. They showed him battle plans, defensive positions, supply routes. Everything was organized, calculated, proper. "We understand this is a significant commitment," said the speaker. "But humanity will be compensated. Technology, territory, trade agreements, whatever you require." "And if we refuse?" Hyun-woo asked. The chamber fell silent. The speaker's 4 arms spread wide. "Then the Void-born will eventually reach your space as well. This is not just our war, Ambassador. It is everyone's war. Help us now, or face them alone later." Hyun-woo nodded slowly. He pulled out a small communication device. "I need to consult with my superiors on Earth. This is not a decision I can make alone." "Of course," said the speaker. "But please, be swift. Every day we delay costs more lives." Hyun-woo activated the device. The encryption was military grade, bouncing the signal through 6 relay stations before reaching Earth. A face appeared on the small screen. It was Dae-jung, humanity's military coordinator. He was older than Hyun-woo, with gray in his hair and scars on his hands. "I heard everything," Dae-jung said quietly. "The council has no idea what they're asking for, do they?" "They want soldiers," Hyun-woo replied. "Professional, disciplined, conventional." Dae-jung smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "They want chess pieces. Predictable units that follow rules. That's what they think will win this war," Hyun-woo said. "They've been fighting for 3 years with that strategy. It hasn't worked." No, agreed Dae-jung. It wouldn't. The Voidborn don't follow rules. They're relentless. They don't negotiate, they don't retreat, and they don't feel fear. You can't beat an enemy like that with conventional tactics. Hyun-woo glanced back at the council members watching him. They looked desperate, tired, afraid. So what do we send them? Dae-jung was quiet for a moment. Then he said, we send them what they actually need, not what they asked for. They won't understand. They will, Dae-jung said. Eventually. Is Ji-won still on station? Yes. She's been training with their security forces. Good. She'll be first. I'll start assembling the others. Give me 3 months. Hyun-woo felt a chill run down his spine. You're sure about this? Once we send them, there's no taking it back. The galaxy will see what we're capable of. They need to see it, Dae-jung said firmly. Humanity has always had a certain type of person, the ones who run toward danger instead of away from it, the ones who find purpose in combat. Every civilization tries to suppress them, control them, or lock them away. We learned to channel them instead. Warriors, Hyun-woo whispered. Not soldiers, Dae-jung corrected. Soldiers fight because they must. Warriors fight because they choose to. There's a difference. The council is about to learn that difference. The communication ended. Hyun-woo turned back to face the assembly. Every alien eye was on him. They looked hopeful. They thought salvation was coming. In a way it was, but not the salvation they expected. Earth agrees to help, Hyun-woo announced. We will send troops to aid in the fight against the Voidborn. The chamber erupted in relief. Some diplomats clapped. Others made sounds of approval in their various languages. The speaker raised his 4 arms for silence. This is excellent news, Ambassador. When can we expect your soldiers to arrive? 3 months, Hyun-woo said. We need time to assemble the proper force. This mission requires specific individuals. Specific? In what way? Hyun-woo smiled. It was the same smile Dae-jung had given him. Not quite happy, but knowing. You'll see when they arrive. Trust me, they will be exactly what you need. The speaker looked uncertain, but nodded. Very well. We will prepare facilities at the frontline staging world of Kepler 442. Send us your specifications for equipment and supplies. We'll bring our own equipment, Hyun-woo said. Human weapons, human gear. Our people work best with familiar tools. As you wish. Thank you, Ambassador. The Council will not forget this. Hyun-woo bowed and left the chamber. Outside, he found Ji-won waiting. She was shorter than him, lean and muscular, with scars on her knuckles and a permanent intensity in her eyes. She had been a combat instructor before becoming a security specialist. I heard, she said. They're sending us? Not us, Hyun-woo corrected. You and others like you. Ji-won's eyes lit up. It was not a pleasant light. It was the look of a predator spotting prey. Finally, I've been training with the Council's security teams. They're good, but they fight like it's a job, like something they have to do. And you? I fight because it's what I'm good at, Ji-won said simply. It's what I was made for. Sounds like the Voidborn need to meet people like me. They will, Hyun-woo promised. In 3 months, this whole galaxy will understand what humanity really is. And they'll either thank us or fear us. Maybe both, Ji-won said with a grin. Hyun-woo watched her walk away, already thinking about the coming fight. He looked out the viewport at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Voidborn were consuming worlds. And somewhere on Earth, Dae-jung was making calls, sending messages, gathering volunteers. The galaxy had asked for soldiers. Humanity was sending something far more dangerous. They were sending the warriors they themselves feared most. 3 months passed like a held breath. The Galactic Council lost 2 more systems to the Voidborn during that time. Another 70 billion lives gone. The Council members grew more desperate with each passing day. They waited for the human reinforcements like drowning men waiting for rescue. The human transport ships arrived at Kepler 442 on schedule. 5 vessels, each carrying 100 soldiers. The staging world was a massive military base orbiting a blue giant star. Thousands of alien troops were stationed there, preparing for deployment to various fronts. When the human ships requested docking clearance, every commander on the base paid attention. General Vrex 7 stood on the landing platform. He was a veteran of 30 campaigns, a tactical genius of the Krenth species. His armored shell had seen countless battles. He had defeated pirates, rebels, and hostile species. He had trained soldiers from a dozen worlds. He knew military excellence when he saw it. "Formation!" he ordered his honor guard. "Present arms for our human allies." The alien soldiers lined up in perfect rows. Their weapons gleamed. Their armor was polished. This was how professional militaries greeted each other, with discipline, with respect, with order. The first transport ship's ramp lowered. Smoke drifted out from inside. Then a figure appeared. Taemin walked down the ramp slowly. He was not wearing a uniform. He wore simple combat clothes, dark and practical. His arms were covered in tattoos. Scars marked his face and neck. He was grinning like he had just heard the funniest joke in the universe. Behind him came another human, then another, then dozens more. Vrex 7 felt his secondary heart skip a beat. These were not soldiers. These were not the disciplined professionals he had expected. The humans coming off the ships looked like they had walked out of a nightmare. Tattoos, scars, mismatched armor, personal weapons. Some were laughing. Some were silent and cold. None of them marched in formation. They moved like a pack of predators, each aware of the others but independent. "What is this?" Vrex 7 whispered. Hyunwoo stepped forward from where he had been waiting. "General Vrex 7, allow me to introduce the human volunteer force. 500 warriors, ready for combat." "Warriors?" Vrex 7's voice rose. "These look like criminals, pirates, mercenaries." Taemin heard this. His grin grew wider. He walked right up to the general, ignoring protocol completely. "Some of us were criminals. I was. Underground fighter. Killed 3 men before I was 20. Spent 5 years in prison." He spread his tattooed arms. "Then the war came, and they asked if I wanted to fight for something that mattered. I said yes." Behind him, a woman stepped forward. Minha was smaller than Taemin, but something about her made even the battle-hardened alien soldiers step back. She carried a rifle that looked custom-made, and her eyes were cold as space itself. "Sniper," she said quietly. 217 confirmed kills before joining this mission. I don't miss." Another human pushed through the crowd. Jae-hyun was younger, with burn scars on his hands and an explosive smile. "Demolitions! I love making things go boom. The bigger the boom, the better." "Stop," commanded Vrex 7. He turned to Hyunwoo. "This is unacceptable. We asked for professional soldiers, trained military personnel who could integrate with our forces. These are madmen and killers." "No," Hyunwoo said calmly. "These are humans who chose violence as their purpose. You asked for soldiers who fight because they're ordered to. We sent warriors who fight because they want to, because they're good at it, because they find meaning in it. This is not what we agreed to." "You agreed to human military assistance," Hyunwoo reminded him. "These are our military specialists. Each one volunteered. Each one passed psychological screening. Each one wants to be here, fighting the Voidborn. Can you say the same about your soldiers?" Vrex 7 looked at his own troops. They were professional, disciplined, well-trained, but they fought because it was their duty, because they had been ordered to, not because they wanted to. Ji-won stepped forward. She had arrived on the first ship, and now she stood beside Taemin. "General, your people have been fighting this war for 3 years, using conventional tactics, following proper military doctrine. How's that working out?" Vrex 7's shell flushed with anger. "We have held the line." "You've lost 30% of your territory," Ji-won said bluntly. You're losing. The Voidborn don't care about your tactics or your formations. They just keep coming. You can't beat them by being professional. You beat them by being more vicious than they are. We are not savages, Vrex 7 said coldly. Neither are we, Taemin said. We're just honest about what we're good at. Every human here knows what they are. We're the ones who smile in a fight, who feel alive when the bullets fly. Your society tries to suppress people like us. Our society learned to aim us at the right targets. Another voice called out from the human ranks. I volunteer for demonstration. A woman pushed forward. Sunhee was older than most of the others, with gray in her hair and old scars on her arms. She wore a medic's symbol on her shoulder. I was serving life in prison, Sunhee said clearly. Murder. I hurt someone who didn't deserve it. I owned that, accepted it. Then they offered me a choice, rot in a cell or use my medical training to save lives in this war. I chose to save lives. I'm still violent. I still have that darkness, but now I point it at the right enemy. Vrex 7 was speechless. These humans were openly admitting to being criminals, killers, and unstable individuals. Yet they stood here, ready to fight and die for species they barely knew. I want to spar with your best fighter, Ji-won announced suddenly. Right now, I want to show you what we are. Vrex 7's mandibles clicked in frustration. Fine, Koreth, come forward. A massive alien stepped out from the honor guard. Koreth was 3 meters tall, covered in natural armor plates, with 4 arms and claws that could tear through steel. He was the undefeated combat champion of the base. Ji-won looked up at him and smiled. Perfect. The sparring circle was set up quickly. Alien soldiers gathered to watch. The human warriors formed their own crowd, many of them placing bets in their own currency. Taemin stood at the front, arms crossed, still grinning. Rules? Ji-won asked. No lethal blows, Vrex 7 said. First to yield loses. What if I don't yield? Then first to unconsciousness. Ji-won nodded. Works for me. The fight began. Koreth moved first, fast for his size. His claw swept toward Ji-won's head. She ducked under it, rolled, came up inside his guard. Her elbow struck his lower ribs. It was like hitting stone. Koreth barely flinched. His second claw caught her across the shoulder. Ji-won flew backward, hit the ground hard. Blood seeped from the wound. The alien soldiers murmured. It was over already. Ji-won got up. She was laughing. Again, she said. Koreth looked confused. The blow should have ended the fight. But Ji-won charged back in, faster now, more aggressive. She took another hit, then another. Each time she got up, each time she was smiling. The alien champion began to hesitate. This was not normal. Opponents who were losing did not smile. They did not laugh. They did not keep coming forward. Ji-won saw the hesitation. She exploited it. Her attacks became more focused. She was not trying to overpower Koreth. She was studying him, learning his patterns, adapting. The human warriors began to cheer. The fight lasted 10 minutes. In the end, Koreth won. He pinned Ji-won to the ground with 3 of his arms. She could not escape. But she was still smiling, blood running from her nose and mouth. Good fight, she said. I learned a lot. Want to go again? Koreth released her and stepped back. He looked at Vrex 7. General, this human is insane. She enjoyed being hurt. She laughed when I struck her. I enjoyed the challenge, Ji-won corrected, getting to her feet. Sunhee was already there with a medical kit, efficiently treating the wounds. Pain is just information. Fear is just adrenaline. You learn to process both, and fighting becomes something else, something pure. Vrex 7 finally understood. These humans did not fight like soldiers. They did not follow the normal psychological patterns. They had individuals who genuinely thrived in combat, who found joy in violence, who sought out danger instead of avoiding it. It was terrifying. It was also exactly what the galaxy needed. Very well, Vrex 7 said slowly. You will be assigned to Sector 7, high-risk operations, missions that require unconventional tactics. If you are truly warriors, you will have your chance to prove it. Taemin saluted, casual and relaxed. General, just point us at the enemy. We'll handle the rest. The human warriors dispersed to their quarters. The alien soldiers watched them go, uncertainty and fear in their eyes. These humans were not like other species. They had brought their monsters to war. The question was whether those monsters could be controlled. Hyunwoo stood beside Vrex 7, watching the last of the humans disappear into the base. You're afraid of them? Yes, Vrex 7 admitted. I am. Good, Hyunwoo said. If you're afraid of them, imagine how the Voidborn will feel. Somewhere in the darkness of space, the Voidborn swarm continued its advance, unaware that a new predator had entered the war, one that hunted for the joy of it. The colony world of Thresh 9 was dying. 400 million people lived there, spread across 3 continents and dozens of floating cities. They were farmers, teachers, engineers, families. Normal people living normal lives. Now the Voidborn were coming, and normal life was about to end. The enemy fleet appeared at the edge of the system 3 days ago, 50 hive ships, each one a living vessel of twisted flesh and metal. They moved slowly but steadily toward Thresh 9, consuming everything in their path. Asteroids, abandoned satellites, even light itself seemed to dim around them. The Galactic Council military responded with standard protocol. Evacuate civilians, establish defensive positions, delay the enemy as long as possible while the evacuation continued. It was textbook strategy. It would buy maybe 2 weeks before the planet fell. General Vrex 7 stood in the command center watching the tactical displays. His conventional forces were in position. 3 battle groups, 70 ships, prepared to make the Voidborn pay for every meter of space. It would not be enough. It never was. Sir, said his communications officer, the human detachment requests permission to deploy. Rex 7 felt his shell tighten. The humans had been with them for 2 weeks now. They had been training, studying Voidborn tactics, preparing. He had kept them away from actual combat, not sure if he could trust them, but time was running out. Deploy them to Defensive Line 3, Rex 7 ordered. Support role only. I want them where I can watch them. Sir, the human commander is requesting a different assignment. Denied. Defensive Line 3. That is final. On the human transport ship, Taemin received the orders and smiled. He looked at the 40 warriors in the briefing room. Minha was checking her rifle. Jae-hyun was organizing explosive charges. Sun-hee was preparing medical supplies. Ji-won was sharpening a combat knife. All of them looked eager. We've been assigned to Defensive Line 3, Taemin announced. Support role. Protect the evacuation ships. That's boring, Jae-hyun said. We didn't come here to play defense. I know, Taemin said, which is why we're not doing that. I need volunteers for a different mission, something the general did not authorize. Every hand went up instantly. Taemin's grin widened. Good. Here's the plan. The Voidborn hive ships are their command centers, living vessels that coordinate the swarm. According to the intel, they're heavily defended on the outside, but less protected inside. They don't expect enemies to get inside. You want to board them? Minha said. It was not a question. I want to kill them from the inside. We take a stealth shuttle, use captured Voidborn biosignatures to mask our approach, land on a hive ship, and plant explosives. Then we fight our way out. Sun-hee raised her hand. That's suicide. Probably, Taemin agreed. Anyone want to back out? Silence. Then Jae-hyun laughed. If we're going to die, might as well make it memorable. 4 hours later, a small human shuttle detached from the main transport. It carried 20 warriors. They had disabled their tracking systems. As far as the command center knew, they were still in their quarters. By the time anyone noticed they were gone, the mission would be over. The shuttle drifted through the debris field at the system's edge. Minha piloted, her hands steady. She had flown through worse. Behind her, the warriors prepared their weapons. Human technology, designed for close combat. Compact rifles, explosive charges, combat knives. Nothing fancy, nothing that could fail. Approaching the first hive ship, Minha said quietly, "Biosignature masking is holding. They think we're debris." The hive ship filled the viewport. It was massive, organic, and wrong. The hull pulsed with unnatural life. Teeth and eyes covered its surface. It looked like something from a nightmare. "I love it," Jae-hyun whispered. "So much to blow up." They landed on a soft section of the hull. The outer skin was warm and wet. Cutting through it was like cutting through flesh. The warriors moved quickly, efficiently. This was what they trained for, what they lived for. Inside the hive ship, the air was thick and hot. The corridors were not corridors, but organic tunnels. Everything dripped, everything moved. Void-born drones patrolled in groups of 5, their eyeless heads swiveling to detect intruders. Minha fired first. 3 shots, 3 dead drones. Her rifle made almost no sound. The other drones turned toward the noise, but Tae-min was already moving. His blade took the 4th through what passed for a neck. The 5th tried to sound an alarm, but Ji-won broke its throat before it could. "Quiet so far," Tae-min whispered. "Let's keep it that way. Jae-hyun, mark the structural points. We want this thing to collapse when we blow it." They moved deeper into the ship. The walls pulsed around them like they were inside a living stomach, which, in a way, they were. The hive ship was a creature as much as a vessel. Kill it right, and the smaller Voidborn would lose coordination. 10 minutes in, they reached the first major chamber. It was enormous, filled with some kind of organic machinery. Voidborn moved everywhere, tending to the pulsing systems. There were too many to fight quietly. "This is where it gets loud," Tae-min said. "Jae-hyun, plant your first charges. Everyone else cover him. When the shooting starts, it does not stop until we're done." Jae-hyun ran forward, planting explosive charges on the organic support columns. The Voidborn noticed him. They shrieked, a sound that hurt human ears. Then they attacked. The warriors opened fire. The chamber became chaos. Voidborn fell by the dozens, but more kept coming. They did not feel fear. They did not retreat. They just attacked, again and again. Sun-hee fired her rifle with one hand while treating a wounded warrior with the other. A Voidborn drone grabbed her from behind. She dropped her rifle, pulled a knife, stabbed backward. The drone fell. She picked up her rifle and kept shooting. "Charges set," Jae-hyun yelled. "Moving to the next point." They fought through 3 more chambers. Each one was harder than the last. The Voidborn were adapting, learning. They started using tactics, flanking, coordinating. The warriors adapted faster. Every fight taught them something new about the enemy. Every battle made them more efficient. Tae-min took a claw to the shoulder. The pain was sharp and bright. He grinned through it, using his offhand to shoot the Voidborn that had wounded him. Sun-hee was there in seconds, sealing the wound with quick-setting medical foam. "You're insane," Sun-hee said. "You're here too," Tae-min pointed out. "Fair point." They reached the core of the hive ship. It was a massive chamber with a pulsing central column. This was the brain, the heart, the command center all in one. Destroying it would cripple the entire vessel, but it was heavily guarded. 50 Voidborn warriors filled the chamber, not drones. Warriors, bigger, stronger, smarter. They had been waiting. "Well," Tae-min said, "this is going to hurt." The fight that followed was brutal. The human warriors were outnumbered 3 to 1, but they were not fighting to survive. They were fighting to win. There was a difference. Minha found high ground and started eliminating targets. Her shots were perfect. 1 bullet, 1 kill. She did not miss. Jae-hyun used his remaining explosives to collapse part of the chamber, crushing multiple enemies. Ji-won fought hand to hand, her blade moving faster than the Void-born could track. Taemin reached the central column. He planted the final explosive charge, the biggest one Jae-hyun had made. It would be enough to tear the hive ship apart from the inside. A Void-born warrior grabbed him from behind. Its claws dug into his chest. Taemin could feel his ribs crack. The pain was incredible. He stabbed backward, felt his blade sink into something vital. The Void-born fell. "Charges are set," he gasped. "Everyone out, now!" The warriors ran. Behind them, the Void-born pursued. The corridors collapsed as they ran, the ship already beginning to tear itself apart. The explosives had not even detonated yet. They burst out of the hull and dove for their shuttle. Minha was already at the controls, engines hot. The shuttle lifted off just as the charges detonated. The hive ship exploded from the inside. The organic hull split open, spilling Void-born into space. The blast wave caught the shuttle, sent it spinning. Minha fought for control, her hands dancing across the controls. "We're clear!" she shouted. "We're actually clear!" The warriors looked at each other. They were bleeding, exhausted. Several had serious injuries, but they were alive, and the hive ship was dead. Then Jae-hyun said, "There are 2 more hive ships in visual range." Everyone turned to look. He was right. 2 more hive ships floated nearby, and the shuttle was now exposed. "Are we running or fighting?" Ji-won asked. Taemin looked at his team. They were hurt. They were tired. They had just survived something that should have killed them. The smart move was to retreat, report their success, let the regular forces handle the rest. "Fighting," Taemin said. "Send a message to the other squads. Tell them to hit the remaining hive ships. We're not done yet." The warriors cheered. Sun-hee was already treating injuries, preparing them for the next fight. Minha plotted a course to the second hive ship. Jae-hyun checked his remaining explosives. On the command center, alarms blared. General Vrex 7 stared at the tactical display in shock. One hive ship had just exploded. No one had fired on it. It had died from inside. "What happened?" he demanded. His sensor officer worked frantically. "Sir, I'm detecting human biosignatures inside the enemy fleet. Multiple teams. They're boarding the hive ships." "They what?" "The humans, sir. They went dark 4 hours ago. They've been infiltrating the Void-born ships, destroying them from inside." Vrex 7 watched as a second hive ship began to break apart. Then a third. The Void-born fleet was falling into chaos. Without their command ships, the smaller vessels lost coordination. They began to drift, confused, vulnerable. "All forces," Vrex 7 ordered. "Advance. Hit them while they're disorganized." The galactic fleet surged forward. The battle that should have lasted weeks was over in hours. The Void-born retreated, their fleet broken and confused. Thresh 9 was saved, but Vrex 7 was not celebrating. He was watching the human biosignatures on his display. They had done the impossible. They had hunted the hunters. And they had won. 6 months of war had changed everything. The human warriors became legends across the front lines. Stories spread through the galactic fleet about their impossible victories. They had turned the tide in 17 major battles. Systems that were supposed to fall were saved. The Void-born were retreating for the first time in 3 years, but victory had a cost. Of the 500 warriors who arrived, only 340 remained. Some died in combat. Others were too injured to fight. Each loss hit harder than the last. These were not anonymous soldiers. Each warrior was a unique individual with their own story, their own reasons for being there. Kyung-soo arrived on a medical transport, sent by Earth specifically to help the warriors. He was a psychologist, older and calm, with kind eyes that had seen terrible things. He had worked with combat veterans for 20 years. He knew what happened to people who lived for war. "I'm here to make sure you don't lose yourselves," he told Taemin when they first met. Taemin was cleaning his rifle in the barracks. His hands moved automatically, muscle memory from hundreds of repetitions. He looked up at Kyung-soo and smiled. but it was a tired smile now. "We're warriors. This is what we do." "Warriors still need to process trauma," Kyung-soo said gently. "You've seen friends die. You've killed thousands. That takes a toll, even on people who choose this life." "I know," Taemin admitted. "Some nights I can't sleep. I see their faces, the ones I couldn't save. That's why I'm here, to help you carry that weight." But Kyung-soo's arrival came at a difficult time. The warriors were being assigned to their most challenging mission yet. Space Station Omega, a massive civilian hub with 5 million people, was under void-borne assault. The station could not be evacuated in time. Someone had to hold the line. General Vrex 7 called Taemin to the command center. The alien general looked older now. The war was wearing on everyone. "Station Omega is critical," Vrex 7 explained. "If it falls, the entire sector collapses. I'm sending you with 200 warriors to reinforce the defense." "We'll hold it," Taemin said confidently. "There's more. This time you follow defensive protocols. No offensive raids, no unauthorized missions. You hold the station until the evacuation is complete. Do you understand?" Taemin felt something twist in his chest. The general was ordering him to fight defensively, to wait and react instead of hunting and attacking. It went against every instinct he had. "I understand," he said. "I mean it, Taemin. I know how your people fight, but this time civilians are at stake. We cannot risk them for aggressive tactics. You hold the line. That is all." Station Omega was beautiful. Massive rings of metal and glass spinning in space, generating artificial gravity. Gardens grew in the central sections. Children played in the parks. It was everything the war was supposed to protect. The Voidborn arrived 2 days after the human warriors deployed. The attack was massive. 10 hive ships and hundreds of smaller vessels. They did not waste time on tactics. They just crashed into the station's outer sections and began tearing their way inside. The battle became a grinding nightmare. The warriors fought from defensive position to defensive position, falling back slowly as the Voidborn pushed forward. Every corridor was a battlefield. Every room a killing ground. Ji-won led a squad protecting the civilian evacuation routes. Families ran past her position. Parents carrying children, everyone terrified. The Voidborn came after them like a tide. She killed them by the dozens, but more kept coming. "Fall back!" someone shouted. "The section is lost!" Ji-won wanted to charge forward to hunt the enemy back to their ships, but orders were orders. She fell back, sealing the door behind her. The Voidborn would break through eventually, but it bought a few more minutes. Minha was on the station's outer hull, using her sniper rifle to eliminate Voidborn boarding parties before they could cut through. Each shot saved lives, but there were so many targets. Too many. Her hands were steady, but her heart was heavy. This was different from their usual raids. This was desperate survival. Jae-hyun wanted to blow the sections the Voidborn occupied, collapse them into space. It would kill thousands of the enemy instantly. But civilians were still trapped in those sections. He had to be surgical with his explosives, precise. It was frustrating. Every instinct screamed to destroy, but he had to be careful. The battle lasted 72 hours, 3 days of continuous fighting. The warriors barely slept. Sun-hee moved between positions, treating injuries, keeping people alive. She worked until her hands shook with exhaustion. On the second day, Jae-hyun died. He was protecting a group of alien children, leading them through a maintenance tunnel to safety. The Voidborn found them. He could have run, escaped. Instead, he sent the children ahead and held the tunnel alone. Taemin found him later. Jae-hyun was surrounded by dead Voidborn, his finger still on the trigger of his rifle. He was smiling. Even in death, he looked happy. They could not stop to mourn. The battle continued. On the third day, Minha was hit. A Void-born warrior got through her perimeter while she was reloading. Its claw ripped through her side. Sun Hee got to her in time, saved her life, but Minha could not fight anymore. Her war was over. "I'm sorry," Minha whispered. "I should have been faster." "You saved thousands," Sun Hee told her. "You did enough." But it did not feel like enough. Taemin stood on a broken walkway, looking at the tactical displays. The evacuation was 70% complete. They had saved 3.5 million people. But the station was falling apart. The Voidborn controlled 60% of the structure. In another day, maybe 2, they would reach the core. His communicator chirped. Kyung-soo's voice came through. "How are you holding up?" "We're dying," Taemin said honestly. "We're holding, but we're dying. I've lost 60 warriors, good people, better than me." "You're doing what you came here to do, protecting people." "I know. But I want to attack. I want to take the fight to them. Every instinct says to go on the offensive. But my orders are to hold, to wait, to react." "That's the difference between a warrior and a weapon," Kyung-soo said. "A weapon only knows how to attack. A warrior knows when to defend. You're more than your instincts, Taemin." "Am I?" Taemin asked quietly. "Sometimes I wonder. We came here because we're good at violence. But violence is all I know. What happens when the war is over? What do warriors do in peacetime?" Kyung-soo was silent for a moment. Then he said, "That's what I'm here to help you figure out. But first, survive this battle." The Voidborn reached the evacuation bays on the 4th day. They were so close to completing the evacuation. Another 6 hours and everyone would be safe. But the enemy had broken through the final defensive lines. Taemin looked at his remaining warriors. 140 left. They were exhausted, wounded, running out of ammunition. But they were still standing. "I need volunteers," he said, "for a suicide run." Every hand went up. "We're going to charge the Voidborn positions. Buy time for the evacuation. It's against orders. It might get us all killed, but it will save those people." Ji-won stepped forward. "We're warriors. We don't wait to die. We choose how we die." "I'm ordering you to disobey orders," Taemin said. "If we survive, there will be consequences." "Worth it," someone said. They charged. 140 warriors against thousands of Voidborn. It was insane. It was reckless. It was exactly what they needed to do. The fighting was desperate and close. Taemin's rifle ran dry. He used his knife. His knife broke. He used his hands. Around him, warriors fell, but they took the Voidborn with them. Every warrior who died took dozens of the enemy. The charge lasted 20 minutes. When it was over, 60 more warriors were dead. But the Voidborn attack had been broken. Their momentum was stopped. The evacuation completed 15 minutes later. Taemin stood in the ruins of the evacuation bay, covered in blood. Some of it was his. Most of it was not. Ji-won was beside him, breathing hard. Sun Hee was treating wounded warriors, moving from one to another with mechanical efficiency. "We did it," Ji-won said. "We saved them." "We lost too many," Taemin said. "We always do. That's the cost." General Vrex 7's voice came over the communicator. "All human forces, evacuate immediately. The station is lost. You've done your duty." They pulled back to their ships. The station broke apart behind them, consumed by the Voidborn. But 5 million people were safe, saved by warriors who were willing to die for strangers. Later, in the medical bay, Kyung-soo found Taemin sitting alone. The warrior was staring at nothing, his hands shaking slightly. "I disobeyed orders," Taemin said. "I led my people into a charge that could have failed. 60 died because of my choice." "60 died saving millions," Kyung-soo corrected. "And you're feeling the weight of that. Good. That means you're still human." "Sometimes I don't feel human anymore. I feel like a weapon someone pointed at the enemy." "You're not a weapon. Weapons don't grieve. Weapons don't question. You're a warrior who made hard choices. There's a difference." Taemin looked at him. When this is over, if I survive, what do I do? How do I live in a world without war? Kyung-soo sat beside him. That's a question every warrior has asked throughout history. The answer is different for everyone. Some teach, some heal, some find new purposes. You'll find yours. But first, let yourself feel this. The grief, the guilt, the cost. Don't bury it. Taemin nodded slowly. Around them, the other warriors were processing their own grief. Some cried, some sat in silence, some told stories about the fallen. They were warriors, yes. But they were also human, and humans needed to mourn. 1 year had passed since the human warriors arrived. The war was ending. The Voidborn were in full retreat, their forces broken across a dozen sectors. The Galactic Council was celebrating. Victory was near. The nightmare was almost over. But in the council chambers, a different discussion was happening. "What do we do with them?" asked a council member with blue skin and worried eyes. "The human warriors. They are effective, yes, but they are also dangerous, unstable. What happens when the war ends and they have no enemy to fight?" General Vrex 7 stood before the council. He had fought beside the humans for a year now. He had seen what they were capable of. They are not unstable. They are focused. There is a difference. "They are violent by choice," another diplomat said. "They seek combat. They enjoy it. How do we control such people in peacetime?" "Perhaps we do not need to control them," Hyunwoo said from his position as ambassador. "Perhaps we trust them to find their own path." "Trust?" The blue-skinned diplomat laughed bitterly. "We have reports of their actions, unauthorized raids, excessive force, disobeying orders. These are not the actions of disciplined soldiers." "No," Hyunwoo agreed. "They are the actions of warriors who did what needed to be done. You wanted them to be soldiers, to follow orders, to be predictable. But predictable forces were losing this war. You needed something else. You got it." The debate continued for hours. Some council members wanted to restrict the human warriors. Others wanted to send them home immediately. A few radical voices suggested containment, treating them like dangerous weapons that needed to be locked away. Then the alarm sounded. The Voidborn had made one final, desperate move. Their remaining forces were attacking Earth itself. Humanity's home world was under siege. Taemin received the alert in his quarters. He was down to 280 warriors now. A year of combat had taken its toll, but when he announced the situation, every warrior was ready to move. "They're hitting Earth," he said. "Our home. We're going back." Jiwon was already checking her weapons. "Did the council approve our deployment?" "I didn't ask," Taemin said. "This isn't their call, it's ours." They requested immediate transport to Earth. General Vrex 7 received the request in the council chamber. The debate about what to do with the warriors was still ongoing. "Denied," said the blue-skinned diplomat. "We cannot authorize their deployment. The risk is too great. Let Earth's regular military handle the defense." "You're condemning millions to die," Vrex 7 said. "We are being cautious with dangerous assets." Hyunwoo stood. His usual calm was gone, replaced by cold fury. "You asked for monsters to fight monsters. We sent you warriors. They saved your worlds. They died for your people. And now, when their own home is threatened, you want to keep them leashed. We must consider the greater good." "The greater good!" Hyunwoo's voice rose. "These warriors have fought for a year protecting species they barely knew. They asked for nothing in return. And now you speak of containing them? Of fearing them? They are not monsters. They are humans who made a choice to use their violence for protection instead of destruction. That is who they are." The council chamber was silent. "I am authorizing their deployment," Vrex 7 said suddenly. "As commanding military officer, I have that authority." "You will be sanctioned for this," the diplomat warned. "I do not care. The humans earned the right to defend their home. Taemin, you and your warriors are cleared for deployment. Go save your world." The human warriors arrived at Earth 3 days later. The battle was already raging. The Voidborn had bypassed the outer defenses and reached the home system. They were attacking Earth's orbital colonies and threatening the planet itself. Earth's regular military was fighting hard, professional soldiers, well-trained and disciplined, but they were being overwhelmed. The Voidborn had committed everything to this final assault. Taemin's ship entered the battle space. He looked at his warriors. Minha was there, recovered enough to fight. Sun-hee had her medical gear ready. Ji-won was calm and focused. These were the survivors, the ones who had made it through a year of hell. "Last fight," Taemin said. "We end this here, for Earth, for everyone we couldn't save, for everyone we did save. This is what we were made for." The warriors deployed in their usual way, not as a disciplined unit, but as independent hunters coordinating instinctively. They hit the Voidborn fleet from unexpected angles. They boarded hive ships and destroyed them from inside. They protected civilian stations and military vessels alike. But this battle was different. Earth's military was watching. They saw how the warriors fought, the aggression, the fearlessness, the joy in combat. It was disturbing. It was inspiring. It was uniquely human. Dae-jung coordinated from Earth's military headquarters. He watched the tactical displays showing the warriors in action. His protégés, his students, his carefully aimed weapons. He had gathered them, trained them, sent them to war. Now he watched them save their home. "Are they winning?" asked an aide. "They're doing what they do best," Dae-jung said. "They're hunting." The Voidborn Queen entity was aboard the largest hive ship, a massive creature that coordinated the entire assault. Kill it, and the Voidborn forces would collapse. But reaching it meant fighting through thousands of defenders. Taemin led the assault personally. 50 warriors volunteered to go with him. They knew it was a one-way trip. They went anyway. The fight inside the Queen's hive ship was the worst yet. The Voidborn threw everything at the intruders, but the warriors had been fighting these creatures for a year. They knew every tactic, every trick, every weakness. They fought their way to the Queen's chamber. Half the warriors died getting there. 25 remained when they reached the massive organic throne room where the Queen waited. She was enormous. Part creature, part ship, all nightmare. She had survived for centuries, consumed countless worlds, destroyed entire species. She looked at the human warriors with something like curiosity. These small creatures that refused to stop fighting. "For Earth," Taemin said simply. Then he charged. The battle was brutal and short. The Queen was powerful, but she was alone. The warriors were wounded and exhausted, but they were together. They fought as one, supporting each other, covering each other's weaknesses. Taemin reached the Queen's core. He planted his last explosive charge directly on her central nervous system. She tried to stop him, her massive claw impaling him through the chest. He smiled through the blood and activated the charge. "We're not monsters," he said. "We're warriors. We chose this." The explosion tore the Queen apart. The hive ship began to break apart around them. Taemin fell, his vision dimming. He felt hands grabbing him, pulling him back. Ji-won and Sun-hee refusing to leave him behind. They dragged him to the shuttle. Minha was at the controls, already firing engines. The hive ship exploded behind them as they escaped. Across the battle space, the Voidborn forces suddenly went silent. Without the Queen, they lost coordination, lost purpose, lost everything. Earth's military finished them off within hours. 3 months later, the war was officially over. The Voidborn that remained had retreated to the far edges of the galaxy. The Galactic Council signed peace treaties. Celebrations erupted across a dozen species. But the human warriors gathered at a different place. A memorial wall on Earth, listing the names of those who fell. 317 names, 317 warriors who died protecting strangers. Only 183 survived the war. Taemin stood before the wall, his chest still healing from the Queen's claw. The injury would scar. All of them had scars now, physical and mental. Kyung-soo stood beside him. "How do you feel?" "Lost," Taemin admitted. "I knew how to be a warrior. I don't know how to be anything else." "You'll learn. Give it time." Ji-won joined them. She had been promoted to Commandant of the new Warrior Corps, a galactic defense force modeled on the human volunteer fighters. She would train the next generation, teach them how to channel violence into protection. "I got a job offer," Taemin said, "teaching combat tactics to Earth's military, sharing what we learned." "Will you take it?" "I think so. It feels right. Using what I know to help others survive." Min-ha had retired completely. She was home with her family, learning to live without a rifle in her hands. Some warriors could make that transition, others could not. Sun-hee had opened a clinic. She treated warriors and civilians alike, helping both groups heal from the trauma of war. Violence could save lives or take them. She had chosen to save. Across the galaxy, the debate about human warriors continued. Some species wanted to adopt the model, others feared it. But everyone agreed that humanity had changed the nature of warfare. They proved that warriors could be controlled through purpose rather than force, that violence could be channeled rather than suppressed. Hyun-woo addressed the Galactic Council one final time. "You asked for soldiers. We sent warriors. You feared them because they chose violence. But choice is what made them heroes instead of monsters. They could have used their abilities for destruction. They chose protection instead. That is the difference." Dae-jung watched from Earth as new volunteers signed up for the warrior corps. Young humans who wanted to follow in the footsteps of the legends. He would screen them carefully. Not everyone who wanted to be a warrior should be one. The psychological profile was specific. The purpose had to be genuine. "Will there be another war?" an aide asked him. "Eventually," Dae-jung said. "There's always another war. But now we know how to fight them. Not with conscripts who don't want to be there. Not with soldiers who fight because they must. But with warriors who fight because they choose to. Because they believe in something worth protecting." Years passed. The human warriors became part of galactic culture. Some returned to peaceful lives. Some continued fighting as defenders of the weak. Some died in service to others. But all of them had made a choice: to take their capacity for violence and use it for something good. The memorial wall grew longer as new conflicts emerged. New names joined the fallen. But beside each name was a story. A life lived with purpose. A warrior who chose to be a hero. And in the end, that was what mattered. Not the violence itself, but the choice of what to do with it. The galaxy had asked for soldiers. Humanity sent warriors. And the warriors proved that the difference between monster and hero was not capability, but choice. Always choice.